Welcome to the Cyber Fishbowl podcast. This podcast is hosted by JP the Geek. We're super excited about our guest today, so let's jump right in. Today we have Chad Hightower with us from Hightower Graphics. So Chad, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I kind of got into the print world kind of early in life. I took a printing class in high school, really enjoyed it, and I thought, this is something I could see myself doing the rest of my life. So I went on, finished that up, and went on to Vincent's University and took printing technology there, and then finished up with graphic arts management at Ball State University, and just really never looked back from there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If we could reminisce a little bit, what does printing class look like? Like, what does that entail? Because if I think of printing, I think of just printing papers.
So at Vincent's University, it was a very hands-on program. Okay. We learned how to do paste up work. We learned how to, back in the day in the printing world, there was stripping. You stripped you shot negatives and stripped negatives. The plate making processes. We ran offset equipment. We ran a web press. We printed the school newspaper with that. So it was very technical and hands-on. Okay. So when you come out of Vincent's University, you were prepared to go to work for a printing company, mainly in the shop area, but you were prepared for that. And then Ball State University is where I took more of the management courses and more marketing side of it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where did you go after that? Where did you go to get your first experiences with
my first experiences, I had a short stint in a company in Terre Haute that's no longer there called Moore Langen. It wasn't my cup of tea. It just culture-wise, it wasn't for me. So I left there, after about 6 months and went to work for a place here in town called Priority Press. Okay. I worked there for, I think it was around 7 years. And just some things were changing around there, and I just saw that, it wasn't for me anymore. So I decided to branch out on my own. So when I started Hightower Graphics, I started off as a print broker. I was nothing more than a salesman that knew where to get the jobs produced in the best manner, at the best place, at the best price,
nice.
And was a salesman taking care of my customer. So I was a middleman when I first started Hightower Graphics. And then you decide to start adding things on as you go.
Awesome.
And that's where we are today. So
awesome. So when people hear about graphic design and print, they might picture business cards and signs. What else? What other things do you do outside of the things that people would think about? And
it's funny because actually business cards are the one things that pop up that everybody, if you walk in somebody's door, they're like, how much do you charge for business cards? And it's the one product that is our nemesis because we can't charge enough for business cards.
Sure.
But it's funny because everybody always asks that. On the commercial printing and the digital printing side, we do annual reports. We do annual appeals for folks. We do a lot of mailings, EDDM postcards, regular postcards for mailings, pocket folders, periodicals. We have some large organizations where we'll print their magazine for them. We don't do a lot of magazine work, but we do a lot of short run magazine work where it's not great for the big web presses.
Yeah.
But they're doing 2,000 to 5,000 copies of it, and we'll do things like that. And just your everyday sales, your flyers and your brochures, things like that. Used to be a lot of, like back in the day, a lot of carbonless forms, a lot of like continuous forms and things like that. That's, that world, our world of technology has changed that, and it's not what it used to be in that area. But it's ever changing, and it's just, it's still alive. It's not dead.
Yeah.
And then we also do apparel. So we do all kinds of apparel. So we do embroidered apparel, embroidered apparel, silkscreen apparel. We do direct to film. So if you're wanting a couple short run T-shirts or something like that, but it's not enough to go to screen press printing for, we can actually do DTF, which is direct to film, and press them on a shirt. The technology is getting fantastic, and you can barely tell the difference.
That's cool.
We deal with promotional products. So anything trinkety that you can think to put your brand on, such as these fancy mugs right here, ink pens, tech supplies, chargers, mugs, koozies, you name it, any of that type realm, we deal with that. And then on our sign and large format side, we do a lot of smaller type signs. We don't get into your large, over the building, large monument type signs and things like that. But ours is more instructional type signs, or a sign for an event, it's going to sit on an easel, or something on a fence as you're pulling in a gate for someone. And then we do a lot of what we do, large format graphics. So car wraps, spot graphics on cars, windows, doors, murals in offices. So that whole gamut as well.
Awesome.
So,
well, if you couldn't tell, we have Hightower Graphics do all of our shirts, our cups, our pins, our all of our stuff. They handle pretty much all of our materials that we have. So
and we are very thankful for that. Thank you.
Done a great job. So
thank you.
The vehicle wraps were fantastic. Yeah. We absolutely love the vehicles. They get a lot of attention.
It's the best bang for the buck in marketing out there.
It really is. Mm-hmm. We talk to prospects all the time, and when I think to remember to ask, hey, how did you find us? It's about 7 out of 10 times now. It's like, oh, I saw your vehicle. Like, I see them all the time. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, I wasn't expecting that.
Yes.
But
they also see you when you're driving recklessly, too. So you have to be a little more careful.
Yes, they do. There's a reason why my truck doesn't have any branding on it.
Yeah, mine does. Yeah.
So what kind of clients or industries do you typically work with? Who would be your favorites or an ideal client?
Honestly, we have a lot of clients in a lot of different industries because what we do, everybody needs a little bit of what we do.
Yeah.
But honestly, probably a couple tops for us is medical, number one. We do a lot in medical, smaller, privately owned medical outfits, that may not be part of the large community or St. Francis or whatnot.
Okay.
But we do a lot of small independent medical clinics, and that's great work for us. And then we do a lot in the service industry as well, such as electricians and HVAC and plumbers and lawn care.
Yeah.
Because again, those are industries that use a lot of what we do.
Branding's important for us.
It is, yeah. And then honestly, but it's not just limited to those areas. We do a lot of non-for-profits. We do a lot in the tech industry. You name it, we probably have a customer in the area.
Awesome. So that's awesome. Do you have a favorite kind of project? Like, what's your favorite thing? What's the thing that gets you excited? Like, I love doing that type of project.
Probably wall murals in offices.
Okay.
Yes. I love doing wall murals in offices. It's just, it transforms an office. Yeah. It just does. You take a blank wall with hardly nothing on it, white paint, and then you go in and you put a mural on the office wall. It changes the atmosphere of the office.
Yeah.
And I love it. And we love car wraps as well. Like, we get some really cool and fun designs that we get to do.
Yeah.
But really, I think it's just internally, people walk in, it changes the morale in an office when you have fun decorated walls.
Yeah. So we have a wall that we plan on putting a mural on at some point.
Yeah, it's it's so fun.
It's just such a big giant wall that you walk into our big training room, and it's the big giant wall that you look at, and it's like it needs something. It's just blue. So
I know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of transition into technology and how that's changed the creative and the production process at this point. So the design and print world has changed a lot in the last decade. How has technology transformed the way that you design or produce materials?
Technology in every industry, but in our industry especially, I don't feel like it's been that long ago since I was in school, and technologies we were learning when I was in school aren't even in existence anymore. A lot of them. We used to, you would do paste ups, and then you would basically take you would shoot a negative from that, and then it would go to stripping, and then you would make plates from that. And it's just now, even on the offset world, everything is computer to plate. So you design something and it spits out a plate. And all that first part of the process is stopped. And then you throw in especially in the commercial area as well, like digital presses. When I first started dealing with digital presses, it was very rough around the edges. If I quoted a customer, if they wanted 100 brochures, I quoted a customer. I was quick to tell them, hey, these are digitally printed, and you're going to see a difference in quality. Nowadays, we don't distinguish what's going on in press and what's going on digital because the technology is there. Okay. And now we're getting into, technology from our standard digital presses. We're going into inkjet technologies, and we're going to like HP Indigo has a technology that it's basically a press, but it's all automated, and it's transforming our industry. Inkjet technology is huge.
Wow.
Now, it's still emerging, and there's still some bugs being worked out on some of it, but
Sure.
it's growing.
Sounds like tech.
Yeah.
Work out the bugs as we go.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and like collateral type material. Some of these presses, like big runs of collateral type material and personalized collateral material. I mean, it'll spit. I don't know the exact number, but it's rolling. It's doing rolls, and they're changing rolls out every 15 minutes. Like it's printing hundreds of thousands in a day.
Wow.
So it's just, and to think inkjet being able to go that quick, it's just, it kind of boggles your brain, because you first thing you think of is a little inkjet printer in your office, and it takes 3 minutes for it to spit something out.
That's exactly where I was going. I was thinking of the old inkjet printers, and I'm like, and you're talking about how it's a new technology that's transforming things, and I'm thinking of like the old printer that's like, well, nobody uses those anymore. Nobody wants that. That's expensive ink, and it's slow, and the new like laser jets are like so much faster and so it's just crazy how we've kind of come full circle around with new technology.
It has, and these machines, they're very robust. They're using the best of the best parts. Like when we think about our small little inkjet printer in our office,
sure.
Let's be honest, they're selling those at a relatively cheap price because they're trying to make money on the ink.
Right.
It's just the way it's made. And they're not building that way. They're building these to withstand a lot of abuse, a lot of paper going through it, and to do it very, very well and very, very quick.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So how do you keep up with all these updates and the always shifting technology and new things coming out, and buying new equipment and testing things and kind of knowing what direction to go to? How do you keep up with that?
It's a constant struggle, of course. You're paying. You always have friends in the industry. You're always talking to pals in the industry. Hey, what are you doing different? You always have your buddies. You're watching trade magazines. You're watching trade articles that come through. You're talking to suppliers on what's new and emerging. You're going to shows. You're going to conventions and shows. I wasn't able to go, but just last week we had Printing United, which was down in Orlando, and that's where all the big brands in the printing world come in, and they set up, and all the big, like the big new technologies and the big new things are coming out then, and like everybody tries to go to that, and what's new, what's not new, but what's being improved.
Yeah.
Because there's some of these technologies they've come out with, and there's a lot of hiccups and a lot of people struggling with it, and what are you changing to make that better?
Yeah.
So it just a lot of just reading, paying attention, talking, checking your emails on some of them. What you might consider junk email, like. Yeah. Pay attention and read it for a couple minutes and see if it's something worth reading.
Yeah.
So
I get so many sales emails in a day.
And then we're kind of, when it comes to technology, you do. Yeah. When it comes to technology, we've always been kind of slow to adapt.
Okay.
Just for the fact that in our industry, there are always hiccups.
Yeah.
And it seems like the big guys always seem to be the first ones to jump on. And so we let the guys with the bigger pockets work out the quirks. Yeah. And then we kind of slide in right after that.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. I mean, I know that none of that equipment is cheap. So.
Oh, no.
You buy expensive equipment, and then it has a bunch of keeks.
So. And you better make sure it works, and you better make sure you're paying for your investment.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yep. So do clients' expectations shift as technology advances? For example, do people want faster turnaround times or better quality or more customizations? Like, have you seen a change in clients' expectations over time as technology continues to change and become more available for everybody?
100%. Absolutely. And back in the day, we used to kind of use the little slogan. What was it? There was 3 circles on the outside. You had quality, you had turnaround, and you had price. Uh-huh. And it was always like, pick 2.
Yes.
You get 2 of the 3. You don't get all 3. And that is changing. Like, it really is with technology the way it is. People are expecting things to be quicker. They're not wanting to order near as many. Back in the day, somebody'd say, "Hey, I'm going to order, 500 T-shirts." Because that's where the price breaks are. Uh-huh. Whereas today, with technology and the way things are, we can do things almost for close to the same price, if not less, on a smaller scale. Yeah. Because technology has created better ways of doing things Even,
that's nice.
Even in the printing market, back in the day, when I first started, and you had to go through all the processes to get to be able to print, and digital wasn't a thing. Somebody may ask for 1,000 brochures, and it was $1,000. Now I can sell 1,000 brochures for, maybe $250.
Wow.
Because technology, and I can have it done in 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Whereas, before it was a week to 2 weeks.
Wow.
It's just,
Yeah.
and the quality is there. Like,
Yeah.
It's high end quality. The average person, if they're looking at it, we can always tell a difference, but we're also trained and we see it day in and day out.
Sure.
But the average person can't tell if something was done on a digital or inkjet machine versus an offset press. They can't tell it.
That's why.
Yeah.
See, in my mind, I would think the digital would look better than the other, but I'm a techie, so
Yeah. You know how that goes.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's you hardly can't tell a difference these days.
That's awesome. Yeah. Let's shift into more innovation, creative process, the human side of the tech transformation. So with AI and digital tools entering creative industries, well, let's just be honest, it's entering every industry. AI is taking over, or everybody thinks it's completely taking over. Everybody's really excited. But do you see AI coming into your industry as a threat or more as an opportunity?
Oh, it's definitely an opportunity. Yes, it is. It's an opportunity for us to do things a little better with maybe doing more work with less manpower.
Yeah, for sure.
And being able to see things, AI may be able to see things that we can't see ourselves.
Yes.
Now, is it there yet? No, it's definitely not there yet, but it's ever changing and it's getting better every day.
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems we're running into these days with AI is we have customers that will say, "Hey, I want a quote on something, and I've created the files myself." And we give them a quote. They come back and say, "Do it," and then they send us something they've created with AI. Well, on the design side, it's doing a great job of making concepts. It's just not making things to the scale we need it to be as printable art.
Yeah. If it spelled everything correctly.
Yeah, we ran into that as well. We had a little incident with the customer a while back where we created a map for them, and we took an image off of a stock photo place that was perfect. Well, we didn't realize it had been created with AI, and there were cities and states misspelled all through it. And you can't run a spell check on it.
Right.
You have to manually spell check that. So we cordially said, "You know what? We'll fix that. We'll get a new board up there for you." But we should have paid closer attention.
Yeah.
But it is not a threat at all. It will help us. And it's getting better by the day. It just is. I think in 5 years, if we sit down and have this conversation again, we're going to be amazed at where we are and what we're doing with AI. We're looking at a piece of equipment right now that we're kind of to change some of our digital machines. And whereas now we have techs come in that if something goes down and they work on our digital machines, this machine, it has goggles to where you jump on and it's like augmented reality to where you're paying attention. You're looking at this through the goggles, and it's working you through. Like, go in and do this and this and this, and change this and move this and do this setting. And it's just it's almost, it's not going to 100% prevent a tech from coming in.
Sure.
But maybe if we're having a tech come in 5 times a month, maybe we're going to have tech come in maybe every couple months.
Right. Yeah.
And it helps uptime. And with our business, uptime is huge on equipment.
Yeah. In our industry, we've had augmented reality for a little while in some of our networking stuff.
Yeah.
You can take your phone and look at the switch, and it'll tell you what devices are connected to what and what VLANs those are programmed to.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. It helps.
It definitely helps. Absolutely.
So how do you balance creative artistry with the precision and speed that technology allows? Because obviously, the creative artistry part, what I would consider more the above and beyond, the stuff that does the emotional connection, as we were talking about earlier, to the speed that people want, because the artistry takes time, and we are a now world. I was going to say generation, but we are a now world.
We are.
Want it now.
We are.
Amazon hasn't helped that with the, you can get a lot of things delivered today or tomorrow. It's turned into a crazy fast world. And little side note of my thought here is like, when at some point are we gonna want to turn that script around and slow down a little? Because I have a feeling that that's probably coming. But how do you balance that?
You just, it's tough. It's tough to do so. You're just always paying attention, and but like you mentioned the whole emotional side of it, and the whole, I think we're a long way away from that aspect getting replaced, because you may call me in 5 years and I'll say, hey, I was wrong, but there's something about the human brain that you can't imitate that. And it's just, I know this about this company, and when I walked in their office, it had a feel about it that makes me want to go this direction. Whereas with AI, like it's not there. Yeah. It doesn't grasp that at this point. And again, like I said, in 5 years, we may have a totally different conversation on it. But it's it's moving so fast. I think it's got to slow down at some point. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you're ever going to take the human side out of it 100%. You can't. Our brains can sense things that AI just can't.
Yeah. So, AI is logic. It can and maybe it can today or will in the future kind of imitate emotional response, which is kind of scary. I don't know that I want it to ever be able to feel or imitate the feeling of emotions. But there's so much in our world that is relying upon that emotional reaction. Whenever you're looking at some well-made graphic, it's made with emotional reaction intent. It wants to connect you in certain ways. And like the AI will know, orange brings excitement and energy, and blue brings peace and calm and trust. And, it can know those things and it can use those colors. But piecing things together to get that emotional response is going to be, I think, harder for AI to get. And like I said, a little scary. I don't know that I want it to get there.
Well, at that point, once it starts sensing emotion and feelings and all that, how do you stop it?
Yeah. They're having trouble with that now.
How does it not take over? At that point, you want to limit it at some point.
Yeah. I often think, did we not watch Terminator? I love AI. I love what it's doing for us. But there are times, there's a company in California that's making humanoid robots, and they're very, very capable. They're not out for production yet, but they seem to be getting really close. And they can take care of your whole house. They can put away your groceries. They can clean everything. They can do your dishes. They can do so much stuff. And it's my initial thought was, did we not watch Terminator and iRobot? Because that looks strangely like the iRobot robot. And, that didn't end well.
Yeah. So. And start thinking, once all this starts happening, you start thinking militaries.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure what's it going to do in militaries? It just militaries may become armies of robots.
That's
that's
a wild thought.
Where does that stop?
Okay, let's shift back to less terrifying conversation.
Absolutely. Let's go to happy.
Have you faced any challenges in adopting new technology that you could think of?
Probably the biggest challenges in adopting new technology for a company our size, and it's cost.
Yeah.
The better the technology, the better it is. There's a dollar sign to that. That sometimes you have to, even if you think, hey, it's going to change my business and it's going to be perfect. If it doesn't work 100% out of the gate, it will put you out of business, and you have to say, okay, can I take that risk?
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, cost is the biggest factor in some of the technologies out there.
Sure.
Is, there's printing presses and things out there that, are $5 million. I would love to have one, and could it transform my business? Yeah, but in 3 months, if I don't have the work for it, I'm not making the payment on it.
Right.
So that's the problem.
Yeah.
The better the technology, the better the speed, the better the quality. The dollar sign reflects that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to say, what can we tolerate?
Right.
And what's going to make us better.
Yeah. Baby steps.
Yeah.
Smaller steps, anyways.
Yeah.
Awesome. How do you see the relationship between traditional craftsmanship and modern technology? How do you see those kind of combine in your business?
It's happening now. It's it's tough. Now, the one thing I will say, right now we're low on skilled tradesmen, especially in our industry.
Yeah.
They're hard to find. It takes a long time to train them. So
yeah, they all wanted to go into IT.
They did. You guys stole them all.
Yeah,
you did.
All of them.
But it's just
wild.
I guess the way the world's been going is like kids get out of you get out of high school and you should go to college and get a job, and the trades have kind of lost out. I feel like they're on a huge rebound, and that's a great thing. But trades have lost out. So there's a lot of trades out there that they're struggling to find people, and they're struggling to find help.
Yeah.
So in our industry, like we're starting to welcome the technology, and a lot of the machines out there today, instead of needing a skilled tradesman like a skilled pressman, it needs an operator.
Right.
An operator, that's got a good mind about them and can pay attention and see color and whatnot. But like it needs an operator. And to be honest, I like the idea of having tradesmen, but we may have to depend on the machines doing a lot of the work for us in that area, because it's just the numbers are dropping. A lot of especially in the pressman area, like a lot of probably the average pressman age these days is probably, I bet it's 55 to 65, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of backfill behind it.
Yeah. There definitely was a couple generations there that did not want to go into that. They totally shifted, and now everyone wants cybersecurity. Like we try to hire an IT technician, and it's like, I want to be in cybersecurity. Like everybody wants to be in cybersecurity. It's like, well, we still need people to do the IT side. Like for us, there's the IT side, there's the cybersecurity side, and then there's the future, the AI, the strategy, the scaling, the business side of things. So we kind of have three different sides to our business, and everybody wants cybersecurity. And it's like, well, I don't need 100% of my staff to do cybersecurity. I still need people to build networks and servers and infrastructure and fix the computer when it's broken, because all the rest of it's great, but if you can't use your computer, then it's all for none. So it's kind of a wicked web that's been weaved, and we just kind of so we're kind of welcoming like the newer technology, because it scares us, because there's not a lot of backfill when it comes to skilled tradesmen. You're not the only person that I've heard talk about this. We've got some manufacturing clients. They do all sorts of different manufacturing, but they're having a really hard time finding people that A, want to do that job, and then B, that are qualified to do the job. He just can't get any of the younger generation to want to move into that. So he's trying to figure out how to continue business, because they still need the parts made. And you still need, like, most of it's made by the machines now, but you still need people to run those machines and fix those machines. And that skilled labor is just dwindling. So
it is.
I think that we're going to have a shift back to more of that, especially as AI continues to take over more going forward. Not that I think that it will replace most jobs. I think it will augment so many jobs, where I think that it will make people a lot more efficient. So say a company needed 100 of these employees. We'll say customer success people. Say they needed 100. Well, I think the AI will end up just helping them so much and making the processes so much faster, that instead of needing 100, they only need like 20 or 25. I think that it will drastically reduce the number of staff that they end up needing for those roles, because the AI assists them with so much.
I agree.
So
I agree. And that's where I think that's the good of AI.
Yeah.
That's the good side of it.
What emerging technologies, like, 3D printing, AI design tools, augmented reality, how do you see any of the stuff that's coming, if we're kind of looking into the future? What are you most excited about in the future for your industry?
Oh boy, there's so many things. There are. It seems like in every aspect of our industry, there's something new and exciting coming about. But honestly, like one of the big ones, and I mentioned on it earlier, like we're looking at some technology right now on the printing side that is it's very It tells you, it's very AI driven. It tells you like, hey, you've ran this amount of impressions. Let's just go ahead and change this and fix this and,
Nice.
update this. Whereas humans just, you get busy and you forget.
Right.
And it stops you and says, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And so basically, where that skilled tradesman, before had to recall his memory, like, oh yeah, it's time to service it.
Right.
The machines are starting to tell you to do it.
Yeah.
So you can get, you can keep your machines uptime better, because a lot of guys forget when they're running equipment, like, if you're not maintaining your equipment the way you should be, you wonder why you're down.
Right.
And it's like, well, they're like, well, we don't have time to do it. Well, you don't have time not to do it either.
Right.
So the machines are starting to, they become smart, and they're saying, hey, no, we're going to force you to do this.
Yeah.
And we're going to, when you have a problem, you're going to put on this fancy headset, and we're going to talk through it with you, and you're going to do it yourself, because I'm telling you what bolt to turn and when to turn it and how to move it. And, it's just,
it's really cool.
It's exciting. Yeah. It's just, and even on the graphic design side, like, it's getting better every day. It's not there yet, but I think in 5 years, it's going to be designing, what is pleasing for a lot of people in a lot of different areas, the simple is, it'll be designing the simple things.
Right.
Like, you get in, you start getting into brands and things like that.
Yeah.
That can be a little different subject, but just the simple things, hey, look at my website and make me a brochure that resembles my website and my logo.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah, that's super cool. I would never have AI. We use ChatGPT and Copilot quite often here, but I would never have it come up with our brand or try to come up with a logo. It'd be kind of funny to have it. In fact, I'm probably going to try that later. Hey, because it knows so much about our company, but I don't know that I've ever uploaded our logo to it. To have it come up with a logo for our company from what it knows about us. Yeah, I'm probably going to play with that.
I've been playing with Chat, the free version of Chat, and my wife uses it nonstop. Sure. My wife doesn't make life choices these days without ChatGPT. She just does it, and it's funny because she's like, I was talking to Chat earlier, and she did it last night with Halloween costumes. So, hey, what can we find around the house? It's a good Halloween costume. And she did it last night with Halloween. But I am starting to experiment with the ChatGPT for business.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to work through that. And I honestly, I wanted to say, hey, if you were going to come up with a brand for me based on what I have now, what would that be? Just to see. It's exciting. You know? It may wow me. It may be like, no, it's not there.
But I think a lot of times what it does is it triggers more thought. It exposes things that you didn't think of, and maybe it does have something kind of cool, but it's not perfect. But it usually triggers the next thought, the next chain link in the chain. Or
it does.
Series of
events. And us as a graphics and printing and graphic design company, we struggle. You can call me and say, hey, here's what I want, and we can come up with the greatest thing ever. But when we're doing our own thing, it's hard to do. Because you feel like yours has to be better than anybody else's. Yeah. We do this for a living, so ours has to be out of this world. Yeah. And you just can never come to that point that makes you happy, 100% happy.
Yeah. I could have never have come up with when we rebranded JP the Geek at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And then it's this genius guy named Yaku.
And he did a fabulous job, by the way.
Thanks.
Yes.
He blows us away all the time.
Yes.
He came up with this brand for the Cyber Fishbowl podcast, came up with a name. I told him what I wanted, what my goal was for the podcast. And I was like, but I don't want to give you anything else because I don't want to influence. I want you to use your creative genius. And he blows me away all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have customers that want to give you too much information on what they want. And I find it be better sometimes, just give us a few tidbits, must-haves.
Right.
And then let us play with it, and then see if anything jumps out, and then we can adjust. You can add some more input, and we can adjust. Yeah. It's not a one-step process typically where you say, "Here's a design we come up," and you say, "I love it exactly the way it is." You're adjusting it a little bit here and there. I love this part. I don't love this so much. Let's change this.
I gave him nothing. I gave him the very bare minimum of questions that he would ask.
Yeah.
That was for the whole rebrand. That was for the website. For anything that we've ever done, I give him as little as possible. I don't know if it frustrates him or if it makes him happy, but
I like it. I like it when people give us open realm and an open canvas.
Yes.
It helps us. We can get a little more creative. Yeah. Because when you start, you got 5 or 10 points to where you're like, I got to have this and this and this. it really it directs you.
Yeah.
You know, you have to limit your focus a little bit.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Nobody likes to contain their creativity.
I know. Yeah, especially graphic designers. Yeah. So yeah. So
if you could give one piece of advice to other creative business owners navigating tech changes, what would it be?
Oh boy. You know, honestly, like don't just jump into it head first without doing your research. I've done it several times. That's why I say it, because, you know, if I look back and think of the different things I've done to where I'm like, ooh, that wasn't the greatest idea ever.
Hindsight.
You know, yeah. So don't jump into, you know, definitely do your research, talk to others, you know, read about it, pay attention, you know, and then see if it's for you. Don't just jump into it because, you know, it may not be all that you thought it was cut out to be.
Yeah.
You know,
that rings true in our world too.
Yeah. Like, you know, so it's tough. And sometimes, you know, especially if you have a salesman in your office telling you about the newest, greatest technology, you know, they're selling you on it. And, you know, and usually, you know, in those situations, I'll wait like a week before I even, you know, go back to it, just because I'm like, I want the excitement to go away, and I want to think about reality.
Yeah.
And is this really what I think it is?
Well, if you have a good salesman, then, you know, they're going to be good at selling you too. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I pride myself on doing that as well. You know, like, let me sell you something.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah.
You mentioned peers earlier. That's been a critical part of us, and I'm sure that's an absolutely critical part of you is having a peer community and having others that you can talk to about these things and you can bounce ideas off of. We have just an incredible peer community within the MSP space. We love helping each other and helping each other grow and having the right tools and stuff. So to me, I think the peers is probably one of the most critical pieces for our success.
It is. It 100% is. You know, you find people that you know that are, you know, that you become friends with over the years. They're near and dear to you. I have a few, you know, people in our industry that are direct competitors of mine that we are very, very close friends. And, you know, I can call them up and I can ask them anything I want to ask them. And I know I'm getting an honest opinion.
Yeah.
Whether it hurts their business or helps their business, they're giving me an honest opinion. And you know, and usually those folks have been around a little longer, maybe a little older. And I hope to be that guy for someone down the road.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I will meet with people that are in similar industries that maybe, you know, that we can help them out with and a few things that, you know, maybe a print broker where we're doing some print work for them, you know, on a wholesale level. And I tell them, you know, like, hey, if you ever run into any struggles or you have problems, call me. Like, even if it's something I don't do, maybe I know.
Yeah.
I've been through it before, and maybe I can give you some help and send you another direction and help you out, because you know, we need friends in this world.
Yeah.
So
that's one of my favorite things to do. I mean, I'm still quite young, but our MSP has just grown like insanity, and so we're quite a bit larger than the average MSP, and so like I want to get back. So I love helping anyone that has anything that I could possibly help with, and if I don't know, then I probably know somebody else that does know.
Yes.
That we've already had this conversation. Yes. And so there's so many things. It's like, yeah, I went through a lot of growing pains. We went through a lot of trials and a lot of struggles. And so anything that I can do to help, that's kind of where this podcast came from. The idea for this podcast is there's so many things that happen in business day to day. And it's like, how can we give back on a broader scale to help more people? So that's where this podcast idea came from. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Well,
it's always good to have friends.
It is. I mean, I love like not only like my peers in my industry, but I mean, so many of our clients, like we have such good relationships with, and it's like, you know, sometimes you just go and just chat with them about, because business is business. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't have to be in your industry to be able to talk business or to be able to talk about a struggle or something that's frustrating or a client that's super frustrating, because, you know, that happens. So,
yeah. And we'll run into, you know, like other folks in the industry, like I'll run into times where we have certain times of the year that are just notoriously busier than others. And we have slow times. And, you know, occasionally you'll get into a slow time that ends up being busy for you, or what should be a busy time that ends slow. And I'll call friends up and I'll say, hey, are you feeling the same thing I am, or am I doing something wrong? And they're like, no, we're feeling it too. Like, you know, like, okay, good. Because like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, if things slow down when you're supposed to be busy, you go, oh, wait a minute, am I doing something wrong here?
Yeah.
You know, you second guess yourself. And it just helps reassure you, like, no, I'm feeling it too. Like, you know,
it sounds like 2025.
100% 2025. Yes.
Yeah.
So, there's just a lot going on out there. And,
I don't want to discuss politics, but I have a feeling politics might have something to do with the way business has been going.
Politics has something to do with everything in this world.
It's true.
It's
true.
So, let's not talk about it. And that's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Where can listeners find more information about you, some of your work, or anything about Hightower Graphics?
Yes. Honestly, our website is hightowergraphics.com. You can find a list of all our services on there and some work we've done and different photos and galleries and some blogs that we've done on that. Also, you find us on social media. We're posting a lot on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're posting 2, 3, 4 times a week. Come check out our stuff there. Sometimes it's just fun to see the neat stuff we're doing. Other times it may give you some ideas on, hey, I've been wanting to do something like that, and let's do it. So check us out. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Cyber Fishbowl podcast. This podcast is hosted by JP the Geek. I'm Jesse Pearson. JP the Geek does managed IT services, cybersecurity, and AI services. We're here to help you with anything that you need. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.